your website. Redcross.org is your where to go and start at that tree. Sometimes I give you some links as we go through this presentation, and Angela will be working with me in the chat. And guess what? You can go to these different links directly, but many times you can always start at redcross.org. Learning about life-saving skills, the blood programs, the militaries, international aid, and then we plan and deliver disaster relief and recovery services. So what's important here is that these are things that help us get ready and serve us before, during, and after. Clara Barton is the founder of the Red Cross, working on some off of principles from around the world, and gathered information about the well-being of soldiers and helped notify others of the status, right? So the American Red Cross continues to serve using new tools, practice proactive strategies, and partnership. So over 100 years ago, in the late 1860s, mid 1860s, Clara Barton started bringing people together to serve and to help in these wars and disasters. Clara Barton started us on REU. Some phrases we could learn today. One is REU, reunification, is a program in the Red Cross. It reconnects and rejoins people around the world, across the country, in your city. So disaster preparedness and emergency preparedness and your well-being is before, during, and after. Prepare and get ready now, know how to respond, and know how to recover. So that's what we're talking about at this time, and learning some of these things that will help you as an individual and also you can help others. So can imagine times over 100 years ago in the 1860s, early 1900s, all the different disasters and wars and things that were going on. All that time, the Red Cross was working on that reconnecting and reunification, an integral and historic service of the American Red Cross. So here we have some thinking for you that you may not have realized, that sometimes in these disasters, if you know somebody in something that's happening down in Alexandria, Virginia yesterday and this morning, if you know somebody in Mississippi, right? Look at the floods, look at the fires, look at the earthquakes, the mudslides. Where we are in some of the cities, we have different kind of things that we have to learn about. But the Red Cross facilitates this communication inside and outside the affected area. So if you know somebody in California and they're having wildfires for 4 or 5 months in the foothills, or if you have somebody where there's mudslides, so you can maybe say, oh, are they okay? This is what we're looking for. We're looking for how to reconnect people, and are they okay inside or outside the disaster? Red Cross is also very concerned and serves the special needs people that need to be connected. You know, everybody can't get out, or they might be in different places. So something to learn today, the history from the beginning of the Red Cross and the early people that worked with it is about taking care of people, but also reconnecting them with their family members. 5 lines of service have grown out of this history, and we have the disaster relief, the blood services, training and certification, service to the armed forces, and international services. So here's a link then that you could look up, and it tells us all about the kinds of services and how to have relief. And from there you get to learn about one of those 5 lines of business. Another line of service, learning in America, across the country, every 2 seconds somebody needs blood, and you could go here and talk with the Red Cross people. You might have some special bloods if you're from a particular population that they need blood on. So here's what you do. And I think everybody should check this out. Find out what kind of blood you have, but also maybe somebody needs your blood. Here's the education we have. You go to this website about the training, and each one of these items about the first aid, the CPR, the AED, the BLS CPR, right? The ALS. Oh gosh, look at these things. Baby care, life-saving. I know what some of these are, but here's the thing. You go each one of these, and then it's a hot link. So the CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, the automatic external defibrillator. We can put these in the chat. These are good things to learn. And guess what? ALS, advanced life support, and PALS, PA, is the pediatric advanced life support. So there's training available for you at the Red Cross that you can be ready and safe. Like all of us to learn about, and something that you may do or to tell others on how to do. That CPR and AED, that is life-saving type things that you may need to know, and a great thing to teach those people around you in case you're the one who falls down in the kitchen unconscious and you have taught somebody. Learn about this. It's mostly the people that are already there. 95% can save a life if you put your hands on. So we have the awareness that somebody needs the life-saving help. Awareness that you can be the one that can save the life because you touched the person. You knew how to do the chest compressions, the pressure only, the hands-free, hands-only CPR. You can save a life because I need somebody to touch that person that's unconscious in the kitchen, in the grocery store, wherever, within the first 2 minutes, and then you just push on the chest. Don't have to worry about doing anything with the mouth. Right now, you'll learn it if you take that training, and you could be the one to save a life. So pressure only, hands only, CPR, look it up. You may be the one that saves a life while you're waiting until help arrives. The military, Red Cross is around the world serving wherever our military are. And this is how you can find out about that if you're in the military or you know someone in the military and you want to know if they're okay. Around the world, things are happening, earthquakes and other kinds of things, hazards, and we have Red Crosses there. And here's a way that you could find and track other people. Here's another site that if you're concerned about recovery, and the American Red Cross can help family members reconnect. So one thing that we're going through and calling and learning about is the services of the Red Cross, and actually they can help reconnect you, right? Another important thing is, what if you heard about sound the alarm, that there's fires, there's a house fire, 8 of them every day around some major cities. And so checking fires and going to the site, you can call the Red Cross to come in and visit you and do in-home education with the whole family. And a Red Cross they install the fire smoke alarms. So there's a program here that you could be part of, going out in the community when there is a sound alarm program, or you can invite the Red Cross in to come and talk to you and help you, right? Tools, tools, tools. These days, we didn't have these kind of tools 100 years ago, but right now, emergency exclamation point. So if you have a cell phone, you could please put in the chat for me, yes, cell phone. If you have a cell phone, a smartphone that has apps on it or can have apps, put that in the chat so I get a feeling at what I'm working with here. Some people, right? Yes, smart cell phone. Put that in the chat if you've got a smart cell phone. Because the next question is, do you have an emergency app, emergency exclamation point from the Red Cross? for free. Because if you have this app and we learn about it, it's what's in this whole presentation today. All this stuff. And when you download it, like the first aid app is a separate app, right? And we have but the blood donor apps. We also have then the apps that in this emergency, it tells you before, during, and after your checklist, what to do. Your first aid kit is like having a first aid kit at home, so you don't need the internet. In the emergency kit, it tells you where all the shelters are and what to do in a disaster. So getting the app would really help you learn about things, have it in your hand. And my phone, many times I display it on my big screen or whatever other kind of computer and read it from there. So apps are very important to be informed ahead of time. There's a pet app, an app for your pet. Okay, so how to take care of your cat or your dog. This is my favorite buddy. He helps me working out, being identified ahead of time and being ready. He's got apps. He's got his crank phone for the weather channels. And then what do we have to do beforehand? You have to know what kind of instructions you may get from the authorities. Oh my goodness. The authorities say, don't matter what you heard on the news, stay in your home, stay where you are, stay at the office, don't go out anywhere. And they'll tell you, or they'll say, everybody has to leave and you only can go down this one road. What road can you go down? All right. So be informed, like you saw, my buddy was being informed, always keeping the information, seeing what's going on, having plans, and then making some kits that we'll need for before, during, and after. Before, during, and after. Right. Here's my favorite guys, right? We're learning how emergencies happen, aren't we? Learning how emergencies happen and how to stay safe when they do. That's what we're doing. Every time we talk, we're thinking and we're learning something new, right? And we're practicing. Today, we're going to hear things more than once in different ways. That's called like practicing learning, right? Practice what you learned so you'll be ready when an emergency happens. Yes, yes, yes. So it's not just about reading it. You got to then do it. Go do something. Get the app. Practice things, right? Practice what you learned so you'll be ready when an emergency happens. Yes, please. All right. Then we share. Share what you've learned so that everyone knows how to stay safe in an emergency, in a disaster. Guess what? Because when you share what you've learned, you may be, the person you shared it to may be the ones turn out to help you too. All right? So learn, practice, share. Very important. Being prepared, feeling good that you're ready for what happens. What kind of kit should you need? Things that are personal to you, things that are important for you. You have something to carry it in. Here's a picture of the pillowcase. Here's my teddy, right? First aid, IDs everywhere, more than one place. Have your IDs and have your toys and your water and some food. Have things ready. That goes in the kit. Here's my guy, Pedro. You can call the Red Cross. This is the program they have for kindergarten, first and second grade, right? The pillowcase was 3rd through 5th grade and higher, and at summer camps and after school programs in Pedro. So all of these different things, the Red Cross gives you the free training, right? Here's the family that has gotten several generations together, and they actually have a plan, and they practice the plan, and they practice the plan. Here's the plan they made. They made a plan of where they sleep, how they're going to get out. Can they use windows? Can they use side doors, front doors? Where are you going to meet? Get out fast, 2 minutes. This is called a quick action, right? And then when you're out safe, call 911. And then the fire guys, you know what? They have fireproof hats, right? And gloves and clothes and things. And they're trained how to go in and rescue people. They'll even go rescue your pet. So I need you out to call the 911, be safe. I need you to stay out to tell the fire responders where to go and what to do. Good job. Thanks for practicing. Learning how to breathe, no matter what we do, before, during, and after. There's a school nurse always said, breathe, and then they count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe. Everybody breathe with me, because guess what? It's a good thing to do. Sometimes I forget. I take a breath before the presentation, and I forget to breathe all during the presentation. So breathe and practice that. Some people call it box breathing, and there's different things. There's techniques, but then learn how to breathe. Share with others. If you're okay during an emergency, but the other people there are saying, oh my goodness, there's an emergency, then maybe you're the one that can tell the person, here's how to breathe. Breathing is very important for humans, especially when there's emergencies. So that's an important thing to learn and to practice how to breathe in emergencies when you're excited. I used to have to practice breathing before I took my test at school. Preparing, here's how to prepare for emergencies. There's a link, right? And what happens? It's these natural things, or it's the things that man made ourselves, right? But it helps you stay safe. It helps you adapt to challenges and recover quickly. What's the most important thing I want you to do is be prepared for emergencies, what you think is going to happen near you. And then if the emergency happens, if a disaster strikes, guess what? I want you to recover. You're in before, during, and after. I want that after to come closer. I don't want you to get stuck in the during. All right? Before, during, and after, I need you to be prepared so you could be more resilient and respond. I need you to respond quicker. That's what this being prepared before helps you, so that you can begin to recover sooner and help others and help yourself. Here we are really looking and taking care of what these important considerations are of what you need, knowing who you are. What do you need? Glasses, extra glasses. I have a pair of extra glasses in more than one place, right? And different kinds of food, water, medication. So knowing what you need, think about it before. Where do you live? Where do you go? Thinking in terms of this nationwide map, color-coded, and it tells you what kind of hazards are at different places. Where you live, where you go, where you know people. Here's a good idea to say, oh, look at this. Our rains and floods here in the southeast or mid-Atlantic, we're getting our 100-year floods every 50 years. We're getting our 50-year floods every 25 years. It's raining closer together. It's raining more when it does. Learn about what's happening with your weather. This is like weather.gov, right? The weather station. It tells you all the different kinds of weather that's coming. So now today you're learning about, hey, I'm going to check my weather out. If it's cool and calm, if it's too cold, what do I need to have in my kit for the weather? Do I need some change of clothes? Do I have extra things in the car, right? So what happened in January 2022 around the nation's capital, Washington, D.C.? We had some freezing snow and rain. One interstate was backed up 40 to 50 miles for 24 hours. The local area was out, 55,000 people without power. So you need to pay attention to the weather anymore and look and see how you're going to do that, right? It's okay to say, how's the weather this week, today, tomorrow? What special needs do you have? All right, if you think you're all ready and you know where you're going to go, if you have to leave and you say, I'm going to a motel. Well, some motels accept pets, some motels do not accept pets. Some motels accept pets, and you say, oh, I came here because you accept pets. Yes, ma'am, but we only accept pets under 10 pounds. So learn about your needs and where you're going to go and how you're going to go to, so that you can be taken care of because you planned ahead of time. You know where you're going to go for all your needs. The contact list, right? If the electricity goes out or the power lines go down, You still may need to know to contact if there are shortwave radios or things like that. You'll need to collect these documents and have them before, and have them in more than one place. I have my documents on a storage drive that I could wear around my neck. I have things in more than one place, right? What do you need? You need to know where you're going, right? And you need to know what you're planning for. If I'm in the grocery store, if I'm at school, if I'm teaching at the Fire and Rescue Academy, where am I? If I'm shopping at my big box store, if you can't find me, usually I'll be at my hardware store, right? I like to look at all the stuff, or at the camping store. Where you are, you need plans of where you're going to go from where you are and how you're going to communicate. Making these decisions, looking for what kind of you need, the out-of-state contact and where to meet out of state. If you can get out of someplace, what if you were out somewhere and you couldn't get home? Law enforcement, the local government says, no, that area is all blocked up. You cannot go down this part of Route 1 in Alexandria. You cannot go there last night, today, this morning. There was reasons. Okay, so where are you going to go and how are you going to meet outside of the event if they don't let you go home or go to work, right? Most important thing that we're learning before the disaster and emergencies, we're learning about building a support group. You know, my brothers and families in California or Arizona or Florida, you know, so who's around here? Who's around where you live? And there are places and caregivers and groups and networks that you could find out and learn about. That got us, we did all the good things before, didn't we? We did a lot of good things before. Now we're going to say, oh my goodness, during. What if people need, taking their pressure, you know, the guy hasn't settled down. What's wrong? He's in a Red Cross shelter. Well, he's off his meds because there's a disaster. What happens? Do you need medication? So here's things that we're learning about what to do during, you know, and you have to know how to respond during, right? First thing, you take a deep breath. We learn how to breathe, right? Stay informed, know how to take the action. I want you to be safe, protect yourself. You're the most important person. Point your fingers back. Say this with me. I'm the most important. I'm the most important. You got to take care of yourself and find out if you need different things. Have that ready to go. Have something in the vehicle. Have something you could carry on your back, on your waist. How small do you have a waist pack? Do you have a backpack? If you can't put anything on your back, do you have something that's on wheels, right? You try to do things where you have as much hands free and that you could go. You have to go. You have to be able to go, right? And making these kind of decisions and thinking about things. But important is ask for help. Ask for help. Remember that network that you're starting to do before, here, now, or during. Well, how much of the network is still stable? Here's our friend who's planned ahead. She had her pet carriers and all things organized, and she knew that her local government and the agencies got with the Red Cross and opened up a shelter nearby. She knew where to go. She could not stay where she was because of the flood. So knowing if you're going to stay or go, but now it's during, she knew what to do, and she was able to take care of herself and her pets. So here's different links about keeping informed. The most important part is here's weather.gov, ready.gov. Depending on where you are, you might have a Ready VA for Virginia, readyva.gov, readymd.maryland, readydc.gov. So first look at your state and start with what is that ready.gov from your state. And looking, and then they'll say if you're in a county or a city, many times they have alerts. What is that alert for that city or that county, right? So I'm on several alerts for Washington, D.C. And they tell me the weather, they tell me the roads closed, they tell me when something's going on, something's happening. So This is very important because you started doing these by getting the emergency apps. You did things before, but now during, you're looking to say, do I have internet? What connections are up? Where is the authority? Are they posting things in libraries or on the street? Are they telling us what to do? Do we go? Do we stay? Is it safe? Is it safe is always the question, right? So we're taking action during. We plan decisions. Now guess what? Here's a hot wash for you. If you only planned a certain way, but something else happened. What if I planned for flooding? But the power was out for 3 weeks. No electricity to the house. What did that mean? Did I still have plumbing and things like that? So you need to know about what to do ahead of time. Look at these different things, all the different kind of weathers and hazards, right? And then do I shelter in place or do I go? This is what I want you to already think about, because during, you can find out if you could go that way. Can you do your plan based on these hazards and these disasters? Can you do that? Do you shelter in place or do you go? What kinds of things happen here, right? That's what's so important. So we're in the during, it's happened. And what can you do? You have to learn how to take care of yourself, and maybe you have to stay where you are or you have to leave, but it may be a while before the Red Cross is getting into the local school, the high school, or the rec center, with the agreed upon places where the Red Cross is invited to come and set up shelters. So working with the local authorities. Reunification, REU. This is our big theme today. Reconnect individuals as quickly as possible after the event, right? Here is the keeping informed during the event. Maybe your house didn't get the trees on it. Maybe the wind knocked everything else, or it's flooding on 3 streets down, but not your street. So being informed on the street closer, learn right now where these signs are. I went driving around and Annandale Road and I saw this sign, talking to the neighbors and things like, no, they'll tow your car. Washington, D.C., if you're on the wrong street and somebody, the mayor has declared, okay, we're under these signs, emergency, then be careful where you are, where you park. Where there may be road closed, and here's where I go, my shortcut, where I avoid all the interstate and the highways and the rush hour. And then one day I looked up and here's a sign about I'm driving through where it floods. This is my shortcut. What if that's closed when I think I'm getting away? So make a map. How many have a paper map? In the chat, put down for me if you have a paper map in your home or your car, or do you have a paper map that you could look at and say, oh, I don't usually go this way, but now it's an emergency. I'm going to get out of town. I'm evacuating. In the chat, somebody has, guess what? If you don't have a paper map, if you don't know where to get one of the area where you live or where you travel, especially if you travel, you should have a map for that place. So get one from online. Different places, different government agencies even have maps of where you live, and they might even tell you what roads get closed or open based on emergencies and disasters. And then print it, make paper, and have it, in case there isn't the internet. So that's homework. All right. What happens during? What happens during? For yourself. Take a breath. And you may then be able to help others know the signs of stress for you. You're the most important person. You're the most important person. I need you to take a breath, to know the stress signs, and then you could help others. Also, I have to say, okay, it's time for us to have a bottle of water or drink some water. We've been in this disaster and you need to be hydrated so you can help yourself and help others. Taking a deep breath. How do you recover? This is happening. What do you do? If that was where you live behind in this picture, if that was where you lived, I think I've, really been trying to breathe. How do I breathe? And asking for help. And here's some different things: loss of possessions, everything you own. Where is your family? I don't know where everybody is. What happens after? What happens after? Right? Remember, I'm telling you that it's important before, during, and after. I want your after to get closer to the during. You know, if the weather's gone by, if the threat is gone by, and the people say, okay, the officials have told you it's safe to go back out on the street. I want you to recover quicker, learn about your emotions, help others, and things like that, right? So it's about you, it's about taking care of yourself, and about understanding after things happen, after that, you can start to recover. I want you to get into that recovery mode, right? Response and recover, and to help others build their confidence and knowing what to do. Right? You may be the help until other help arrives. It's as big and bad. You have to know how to recover for yourself and what to do. Fortunately, you've saved all those documents, you made all the plans, you have your network, and you're working with people, you're listening on where to go, and the trusted sources is very important after. Too many times law enforcement has made an alert, and FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency, has told us, be careful after a disaster of the sources who say they're going to help you recover and clean up, right? That's very important. Work with your network and trusted sources. After, big or small, the Red Cross is there helping you with caseloads, what you need for your shelter and food and your plans, helping you with your local social services or family services, and working through what you need to do to recover. Before, during, and after, we're tying this all together. Remember that the better you have planned and organized and got ready and practice, learn, practice, and share others, because when you share how to be prepared and be ready to others, they may be the ones that help you if you get stuck under the falling tree or something. So remember about the emergency apps, that they tell us about the weather, they tell us about how to keep safe, and are you safe and well? The other important thing about the smartphone is the apps. In the apps, you can say that I'm safe and well. And in a lot of the phones, I want you to check it. Please put in the chat, if put in the chat, on my cell phone, yes, I have the ICE. There's a little star in the contacts by your special people, ICE, in case of emergency. I think all the different kind of phone providers have that. So you make a contact and you put important numbers, and then you go down the bottom and you say for emergencies. Then they'll get a star on it. So I need everybody to say, look, then if you're unconscious on a kitchen, somebody can come in and they don't need the password. They look at your phone, they hit your phone, press 911 for emergencies, and it automatically alerts everybody else that you said was important to contact. And then they'll know how to take care of you, and people will be informed. So that is what's so important, of being ready before, during, and after, by having the communication, by having the apps, by learning what the networks are, what those support networks are, where you're going to go, and how you're going to find out how to reconnect with people. So before, during, and after, we're learning about how important it is, but no matter what you've done, wherever you are in the stage of preparing and recovering, I want you to take the breath, have these tools, and learn more about these things. And then take care of yourself, because you're very important. Thank you very much. Any other thought or ideas or questions? Be glad to work through those.
Thank you, Marco. Thank you again for joining us, and thank you for an awesome presentation. Before we jump into questions, I just want to extend my thoughts and prayers to the people in Mississippi,
Yes.
and the people in Alexandria, Virginia, and thank you to the Red Cross for assisting those families. Um, At this time, we'd like to invite our audience to ask questions. And if you put those questions in the chat, I'm happy to share them with Marco. And Marco, I'm going to kick us off because there's something that's particularly
Mm-hmm.
important to me.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask you to speak to preparedness at work? Many of us are back in our workplaces, and I know here at NCBA headquarters just a few weeks ago, we had a false alarm go off,
Mm-hmm.
but we are on the 8th floor and we had no idea that it was a false alarm.
Oh.
So I come at all alarms as a retired firefighter's daughter. Get
Mm-hmm.
out,
Mm-hmm.
get out. But if I can't get out because of whatever it might be, how can I better prepare? How can we all better prepare for emergencies while we're at work?
It's excellent to realize that as we were going through our planning steps of before, we said, like, where are you? And then what kind of kit would you need and supplies? Like if you have a waste pack that's just for you and who you are and what you need, then that goes with you wherever you go and that goes with you at work. So first there's what we call the everyday carry for everybody. Figure out with me, somehow for some reason I've really grown to like cargo pants with the big pockets there. And somebody says, what you got in those pockets? You know, and it's like, well, it's what I need with me when I don't have, if my backpack's in the car. So what's in the car? What can you take on a bus? Some people try to get all their stuff ready and they can't fit on the bus with it. So it's think of what you carry with you first, and they take that to work. The other thing that I've done when we do the training at a work site, we look and say, there's the office first aid kit. There's the office emergency box or kit. Like a lot of organizations now, in every floor or certain hallways, you see a first aid or an AED kit on the wall. And at first thing you go, and sometimes there's a fire extinguisher nearby. So the first thing in the office is being prepared for each floor, each area, having that CPR AED kits, and having the first aid kits there. Also then having a place for all the employees. Many times now we have, if there's like a little kitchen where there was a sink or a coffee pot, we look and see if we make some wall cabinets or some storage, and we actually have some water. So you can have, it doesn't have to be the little bottles, but you could have, just like you would do at home, if you have enough water, if the water doesn't come to your house and it's bad, you need your water at home, you could have water at work. So there's something the company and the organization can do at the office to say, we have these many employees in at any one time on flex shift or whatever, but here's how many people we could take care of if we have to lock down and stay in place. So it's, and then we have, there's different things, but they're called like granola bars or whatever. So there's snacks that last a while. I'm not saying you have to have military rations that last 30 years, but so there's some supplies. Little more than the nice dish of M&Ms that happened to me in my office. That's all we had before we even thought about planning. So I went to a high school in Falls Church, Virginia, and was teaching there. And then after I had a tour, and they had got a little area, a closet, and all organized with shelves, and there was enough for water and food for all the students and teachers. If they were on lockdown, if there was floods or snows or some reason, they had to stay. So there is a way to look at the physical location, how many rooms you have, what your setup is at your facility, and what you need then for the facility and the group of people, but then again, what you need as an individual.
So that's a perfect segue because I am also, like many of us, concerned about active shooters. And when we walk the shootings, and when we walk into environments, maybe we are unprepared for the mall, the
Mhm.
grocery store. Um, you know, what do we do? you know, when we ride the metro, those type of environments, I tend to have an extra prescription on me,
Mhm.
just in case I'm stuck in the mall. Maybe not a granola bar, but at least I can take my prescription for that evening or something like that. But what do we do in terms of scoping out environments and, not wanting to live paranoid, but this is our reality. So how can we better prepare when we go into places that are not our normal environments?
Yeah, the challenging part is thinking about yourself and your everyday carry, what's with you. Then, like in our training, we say, what different places do you go to a lot? So when I go to the hardware store, the big hardware store that has everything I need in it, and then it doesn't have everything, I go to the next hardware store. But guess what? Wherever I go, to the big box stores, to the little restaurant, I'm looking for the way out, more than one way out. And can I really go there? There was one place that I didn't find another way out, and I saw a sign over door said employees only. Well, I said, that's my way out.
Mm.
And I talked to the manager. I said, okay, uh, that's where I'm going, right? He said, yeah, if it's really that bad. I said, well, if I'll decide. I'm not going with 100 people trying to get out the little door we came in. The whole part is in the active assailant, the active attacker, the active assailant, because they're using knives a lot now. They're making little homemade bombs to scare us with. So we don't know what the active assailant is going to do. But you have to get safe and retreat. And it's like you are the help until help arrives. You're the person that, what do I need to do? And that's where they say, like hide, defend, avoid. They have different words and things that you should do. If you can get out of the way, or if you can lock yourself down, deny them access to you. It's trying to be inconspicuous. And guess what? The most important thing that they found out is if you take a breath, if you breathe, if you don't, if you really take and focus on where you are and how to avoid the active aggressor, things like that. So there's this whole study and lessons on where you go, looking where all the entrances are, even if you've been to that place many times, your grocery store or whatever. The big training is even for churches and faith organizations and nonprofits on inspecting the building and what would you do and how do you go and where you go other places. Think in terms of, okay, what if it's just a false alarm? What if the fire alarm goes off? Well, let me see. There's 80 people in this giant grocery store now. And that's a little one door in and one door out that opens and closes when you go there. So I said, I'm not going to go where those 80 people try to go. So even if it's a false alarm, a smoke alarm or something, I'm still going to look to go away that the less amount of people go to.
Oh, thank you for that. Thank you very much. We have a question in the chat, and it asks, what do you do in case of toxic leaks or contamination?
Yikes. You take a breath, and then you say first, is it the home? Is it at work? Or if you see it somewhere? Because part of the training is knowing how to turn off your own things. So if you're in an apartment, a condo or something, you've got to have the phone number. You've got to know who to go to and say, I smell it. I see it. I hear it hissing at me. So there's it. Then right away, if you think that you don't know how to turn it off or what it is, it's call 911. 911 is okay to call. That they want you to call. There's a non-emergency phone number for your area. You could learn about that. But in some places, like around the DC area, it's the same dispatcher and the same computer networks that take over a 911 call and a non-emergency number. Then they get just separated and classified. So it's don't go near it. keep safe. If you've got an area, some people then say try to put a barrier around it. You know, some of us have rolls and rolls of duct tape because we go to duct tape school, and or you know, tying things or putting chairs around it. Don't go by here, and it's get yourself into safety. That's what you would do in case of the toxic leaks. If something's contaminated, you've got to go and get yourself safe. Call 911.
Okay, thank you. And then we have another question. It reads, I live in an apartment. Should my landlord check my smoke detector annually, even if it's hardwired?
Oh, guess what? Hardwired, yes, hardwired only means that it has power. It doesn't mean that the sensor still works after 10 years. So you could check your local ordinances, and the local ordinances may say, you know, you check the batteries. We usually check them twice a year, but now they have 10-year smoke detectors, and after 10 years, you replace the whole thing. So it's the age of the thing, not that it's hardwired.
Okay.
And it's where they're located. You're supposed to have one in every bedroom and one on every floor, right? So one where you sleep. You can't just say bedroom anymore because some people are sleeping in all different kind of rooms that used to not be bedrooms that don't have windows in them and stuff. So wherever somebody sleeps, you need one. But it's more important about how old is it, and did you test it? Did you take a broom handle and stick up to the little button and test it? If you can't do that, you could ask someone to see if the sensor still works.
Okay. And as a renter, as a renter coming into a new apartment or what you perceive to be a new apartment, how will you know the age of that smoke detector? Should you ask? Should your landlord tell you?
Yes, I would ask, and you could check yourself. You always could. What I tell people now when they're settling on a new place, they actually can tell them, just take a broom handle and let me hear it. You could see each one. If you get on a little step ladder, on the side of them, sometimes there's a place to write the date, but maybe in a rental they didn't write it on there. But I've climbed up and looked at ceilings because the Red Cross, I must have installed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of free smoke alarms for people in special communities that the fire marshal had told Red Cross, here's the need. And guess what? Some of them say, you know, 1995, right? And some of them, they've never tested it. They don't know work. And so when I'm on the step ladder up in the ceiling, I can test them and they're dead, right? And you can sometimes tell by the color that the plastic is deteriorating. But it's a good idea. There's nothing wrong with having fresh, new smoke alarms. Then you're safe and you're confident that they are, even if they're hardwired or whatever. But you know, you
Thank
check it out. Be safe yourself.
you.
I want you to be calm about it. And knowing is and you're asking a good thing. I want to know this. I want to know everyone in there. And if you're a renter, get somebody up there and said, I want to hear and see that it really works.
Thank you. And to build on staying calm and taking care of yourself, can I ask you to elaborate on giving some tips for caregivers? Should a caregiver secure themselves first before they secure their loved one? Any tips for the people, those of us who care for another?
Yes, it's so important to remember that you are the most important person. Except if you're on an airplane and the thing comes down and you're sitting next to Marco, you put it on him first and then yourself. No, 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 no. Wherever you are, whatever situation, if you're in a house fire, you get out first, call 911 and let the fire guys get the rest of the people out and find the pets. All right, so the caregiver has got to really take a breath and see if they're safe. If the person that they're giving care to, or if they have a room, or if it's their shift and they have a floor, it's like, is this scene safe? Is the place safe where I am? What if I can't get to the 3 people that I'm in charge of for this shift? You've got to be safe first. And then once you've done that, and if there is a real emergency coming up here, you don't know how big a disaster it is, but you know it's beginning to be an emergency, something's happening, then you still say, is it a 911 call? I want you to think, scene safe, I'm the most important, 911. Scene safe, if I can go in, then I get closer to the one I'm caring for. Guess what you're already supposed to have and know where it is? You're supposed to have all that paperwork on the person you care for. That's the caregiver is supposed to already know, oh, here's the medical file on the person I'm taking care of. And, oh, they're unconscious. What does that mean? Then you get them down flat and start CPR and do the 911. So there are things that you can do. And I say every caregiver should at least try that one we were talking about, the hands only compressions, learning that whole technique, jump in there, or take the training for the full CPR AED first aid. And you could look at that as we gave you the sites of, you could do it in sections. So take a breath, make sure you're all right. Is the scene safe? What can you do? Do you have to get out or escape from that room? Do you have to escape from that hallway? What do you have to do? It's thinking through the process about you and your safety, and then you can help other people. You can wheel them out, you can drag them out, and you can tell other people, hey, you look okay. Are you all right? Then if scene is safe, come and help me get these people out.
Okay, well, this is a perfect question. What conditions don't allow for evacuation?
Many times you'll find out that the local law enforcement or community spokesperson, the public information officer of where you are, city, county, state, town, will make certain decisions and say, first, we've got to do this while we deal with the disaster or emergency, weather-wise or man-made. And so everybody stay where you are, because we don't really know how big and bad this is going to be. The people are working together in a unified command of all the emergency management organizations. They're working together in this whole region. And right now we're not sure if it's a storm or a hurricane, is it sweeping and going away out to the ocean, or is it coming back? Is it going out and come back? Is it swirling around? What's the weather doing? If it's man-made, if it's terrorism, we may not know how big and bad it is of where they're coming from. They might lock down the streets. So that communication link, if it's like, they'll tell you where it's posted, if you can walk, but many times it's the emergency weather band. That's why it's important to have an app while the towers are still functioning, because the texts and the apps can get through and say, Marco, all your interstates are closed around where you live, or your favorite little sneaky road is flooded. You can't go down your shortcut. So it's having that communication and that network. If you don't know something, then maybe somebody near you knows something. Or they'll say, what are you doing out in the street? Get back in your house. And your neighbor maybe knows because they got a shortwave radio.
Okay. We have time for 2 more questions, and this next question is very appropriate, and it speaks to East Lebanon, Ohio. What type of protective mask should you keep in your kit if you live near a commercial railroad like East Lebanon, Ohio? How do you prepare for, my goodness, that type of disaster when you probably won't have your kit because you have to get out of your home and so quickly?
Wow, see, that's these real life cases, and learning during a disaster and just after disaster is kind of the college of hard knocks of, hey, yikes, what do you do when it's that big and bad? And there's different kind of face coverings on the market, but once again, the kind that you have with you, the everyday carry, And if your home or your office has a supply of things, if it's in your car, you can have more different kinds of masks, the N95s, but there's the hoods. There's all kind of things that some people could do uh, around that area. Now, if it's a prolonged, lingering situation, that law enforcement, the government should tell you that this whole town is contaminated. This whole area is toxic. You can't touch it. You can't put your foot there. And if you used to have a store there or an office or a home, you can't go back there probably for a year. We'll see. We'll let you know. So many people probably should be told how far back you need to get. And if you have to leave your home, that's a whole different kind of challenge. So what do you have with you? If you have to leave quick, it's what you could carry, and that's to be the safe as you can until you get to a place then you can get different kinds of care and equipment.
And is it a foregone conclusion that the Red Cross will show up and help those who may not have anything?
Foregone conclusion is a big thing, but here's what it is. The Red Cross is invited and stands ready. So if the federal emergency management, that's if your local government, we already have memorandums of understanding and legal agreements that if something happens, the Red Cross and the local high school or rec center or organization says you could use the basement of this large church. And we have that all lined out, and we have a map of how many cots and how many people can be in the shelter. All these are agreements that we have ahead of time with different organizations in different locations. But the Red Cross is partnered and called in by the Emergency Management Unified Command in the Emergency Operations Centers. And they're part of the emergency operations centers of these local governments and the Council of Governments. So it's a plan, and they'll be ready. And here's the thing, then if it's safe, the Red Cross is one of the first ones there. We have the emergency response vehicles that are feeding vehicles. So we'll drive in to feed the responders who are looking for people that are separated or missing, and to figure out what to do and how big and bad it is, and come back and report. So there's a whole cycle of when we can come. But generally, like looking at these different, 800 Red Cross or redcross.org, there's a way to start to find out what relief and what service and response is already in place for where you are. That's why the apps are handy. They'll tell you where the shelters are already open. That means they got to partner with the local government, and it's okay. It's a bona fide partner, Red Cross and Family Services Shelter or social services. So we work in partnership, and generally, if we'll be there across the country, we'll be there.
Perfect.
But we're invited.
Perfect. Perfect segue to close out our webinar. We are exactly at 2:00, and I just want to reiterate, we need to learn and practice and be ready to be Red Cross ready. And we thank you for giving us the tools to become Red Cross ready. And thank you for all that you do for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to our audience for joining us this afternoon. We give you back your day. Have a good day, all.